I thought he was my sapiosexual match, but something's not right about it. Coming up quick and it's sudden. Hey, it's me, back with another dating story. Because don't we all want love, affection, or just a bit of romance? So this story is about how I talked to a guy who I thought he was my sapiosexual match. And if you aren't familiar with the term, it basically means you're attracted to intelligence. So if you ever felt more attracted to someone after they explained a complex process or completed a mathematical or an analytical equation, you may be a sapiosexual too. So anyways, this was when I was on this streaming app, and one day I was just looking at the nearby page and I saw this cute guy, and it was just basically of like people who were streaming nearby, in the same area that you're in. So I click in. He has a lot of discussions in his streams, and they're about relationships, how men and women think, what attributes to a good marriage, just a lot of discussions around, romance. And those are the type of topics that I love to talk about. So from being in a stream, he also would talk about like God and religion. He was a psychology major. He's like a trainer, and we're going to call him Malik. So I had been going to a stream probably for about 2 weeks, and I would notice that he would view my profile sometimes, like after his stream or the next day after, or just around that time. So one day he ends up sending me a message, and it was kind of just like a general message like, oh, hey, nice seeing you in the stream. After that, we just kind of like chatted a little bit, and this was on the streaming app that we're messaging. And we just chatted like a little bit about us both like being night owls and like how we'd be up late. And then he starts talking about how he doesn't really remember like how I look, and he wants to do a video call. He doesn't feel like he's ever like seen me. And he kind of makes some jokes of like, oh, you might be a catfish, I'm scared. And I'm like, look, we can do a quick video call to resolve that. Like, that's not a problem. We do the video call. That's that. Talk on video chat for a bit. And after that, we just kind of continued to text here and there on the app. It wasn't really like consistent or very often. This was right around the time of Thanksgiving. Most of our communication, I felt like, really was from the stream. What I felt of like him and who he was and all of that stuff was really from the stream and like the conversations and stuff he had. At one point, I was like, in case I haven't stated my interest, like, know that I am. Like, we doing this little here and there messaging back and forth. So at that point, we may have had maybe like a couple of calls by then. At one point of the conversation, he was talking about himself in third person, and he was like, has Malik convinced you? And I'm like, convinced me of what? I realized he was talking about the thing that I had on my profile. I was sapiosexual. Like, I'm not really here to try to talk to anybody, but maybe if you're sapiosexual, you can convince me otherwise. And I was like, okay, I'm feeling a little convinced. We continued to message here and there. I don't even know if it's been a week at this point. We talked about astrology a little bit. He's a water sign. Interesting time. One night we were talking, and conversation got a little spicy, and he was saying like he has this video from a couple years ago. Do I want to see it? I'm like, sure. So he asked for my number to add me on WhatsApp. Now, first of all, I'm like, what and why? But whatever. I download WhatsApp. Now, the video was him and his ex having sex. It felt weird, and it was honestly like a total mood killer. I don't really know what I thought the video would be, but I definitely didn't think it was going to be that. Especially since we really haven't had a spicy combo. You could kind of tell that I wasn't really feeling it. So anyways, we continue to message, but now instead of messaging on the streaming app, we're messaging on WhatsApp. And at this point, it's been like a little bit over a week. We do have like some little phone calls here and there, but our phone calls aren't really too long. we do have some little intellectual points like here and there. I really start to notice that a lot of the calls, they're late at night. He has like some kind of jealousy issues, just the way he is and stuff he brings up and responds sometimes. He is intellectual, but there are small bits, but it just seems like it always gets into like a spicy combo. And he'll always kind of attribute to like, oh, well, it's just because I'm so attracted to your voice, or oh, I was just showering. But also, the texts aren't very consistent unless it's late at night. During the day, it's like if I message him, he would literally take like 8 to 12 hours to respond. In his streams, he talks about commitment. He talks about his faith in God, about being loyal, not cheating, that he's the type of person where he wants to gather all the information before like getting upset or judging situations. And how things are going with us talking, I'm just kind of disappointed. I felt like I was really getting like this late night horny man and not the guy that I was really seeing in the stream. It's almost like when someone asks you for money, but they have the fake conversation beforehand. It was like he was giving me the small intellectual conversation beforehand to get to the flirting, but he didn't really care about the intellectual stuff. It was just feeling real surface level. So I kind of tell him one night when he mentioned something about like coming to see me, and he lives in a different area. He had a catfish location on the app, so I found him in the nearby streams, but he actually wasn't nearby. He lived like 6 hours away. So I let him know, like, I'm fine with us meeting in person, but I do want a connection emotionally and something that is, you know, more meaningful. And he's just like, understandable. So from the conversation that we had, I was just like, okay, it's over to me at this point. I mean, I've tried. It doesn't really seem like it's going anywhere. It's just not really giving what it's supposed to give. One word responses gives me, you aren't here for this. So about a day later, I decide to stream on the app. And the guy that came in my stream, he's actually the guy from my other story of I thought he was the one. And he was just giving all the right vibes. And at one point, Malik, he came into my stream too. And he noticed the other guy. I feel like at some point, Malik messaged me. I just wasn't really feeling it. I feel like I kept the conversation very short. And when we talked though, I know that I said something about the other guy who was in my stream. And he kind of got mad about it, basically brought it up because I was kind of saying something. And he's like, the guy that was in your stream all night? And I was like, yeah. He's like, oh, you interested in him? And I'm like, yeah. If you ask a question, I'm going to give an honest answer. Don't ask a question you don't want the answer to. So anyways, I mean, like I said, I felt like it was kind of over with Malik. I felt like me stating my interest in someone else only continued to make it feel like it was over with Malik. And I thought that was going to be the end. But literally the day after that, all of a sudden I'm getting like random calls. I'm getting random text messages. And it's like this girl, and the girl is someone who's in Malik's stream. I'm like, what is going on? So I'm thinking like, okay, he's on some childish shit. Like he's giving my number out to some girl. He's trying to be funny. Like, what is this? So I'm literally messaging him, I'm calling him, and he's like, oh, he was at work or some other shit. When he does call me back, he says like how it's not him, and he did have like some weird stuff happen on his account a while back. He did have to like reset all his stuff and to check my account. But the thing that I didn't like about it was that the phone number that I had, it was a new phone number. So I think I only had that phone number for, I don't know, maybe like 4 months. It was literally all of like 20 people, including him, had it. I really wasn't giving my number to people. And when I gave him my number, he didn't even use it. He used it to message me on fucking WhatsApp. And this girl was sending me text messages and weird photos. I'm pretty sure the person in the photo wasn't even the girl. It was a catfish. Like the whole shit was just weird. Eventually, I calmed down. I take his word about it, and I did feel like I kind of went in on him a little bit, pretty much. And I did apologize to him, And I really didn't plan on talking to him again. So I think that's why it was a little more irritating. After I expressed my interest in the other guy, I just kind of let it go and took his word for it. I didn't think I was going to talk to Malik anymore. So we don't talk for a couple of days, and I don't really remember how it came about. And then we started messaging again, but he was being short with me. He was like, oh, well, I'm at work. Like, I'll listen to the message later. And he kind of just ignored it. After that, and the conversation switched. And he gets all psychological. If I'm interested in another guy, I'm trying to use reverse psychology on him. And I'm like, no, you only want to talk to me at night. Just kind of like flirty stuff. Like, we're not even having genuine, meaningful conversations or getting to know each other for real. So you know what happened, right? Malik switched up. He starts sending good morning texts, asking how my day is going, telling me that I'm his baby. At this point, my message to him was about how I basically thought it was done. Maybe like a day and a half later, after me telling him I felt like it wasn't really going anywhere. And some important details to mention is that he told me previously about his ex, who he packed up his whole life for. He left his job. He moved hours and hours and hours away to be with her, only to find out that she was cheating on him. So Malik, he was just very suspicious. Like, even I remember for Thanksgiving, he questioned, like, was I really with my family? It was clear he was still hurt from his past. But silly me, I'm over here thinking like, well, I can show him I'm different and not all women are the same. It's weird because he's being so direct, but odd in a way he's never been, like trying to claim me. We really don't have an emotional connection. Like, it hasn't really heightened. He completely dismisses everything I said. And he's just like, okay, yeah, just know that, like, you belong to me. And we kind of go in this back and forth conversation because he's talking about how he doesn't attempt to build with women who have new guy friends. And my immediate thought is like, where was this energy the past 2 weeks when I'm telling you that I'm interested in you? And when I say these type of things, you respond with stuff like, oh, I love interest. Talking to other men isn't his type of quality in women, and that I need to drop the other men so we can bond. First of all, it's one guy. It's singular. Man. One. And he's all like, well, let me know. Make a decision or I'll blindly make one. And I'm looking like, okay, like, bye. But really what I actually said, I guess we just don't work, because these past couple of weeks, I'm like, I'm not certain that it'll get there, and I'm not going to stop talking to someone else who's been authentic and putting effort in. So I guess I just don't match your standards and we operate differently. Now, like I said, he's a psychology major, so he tries to get all psychological, and that's why I always tell men to keep their options open, because that's what women want, and I create value, and I have an abundance of women to choose from. I'm like, look, I don't want any options. What I want is to be desired, to be wanted, to be connected to. I haven't dated in 7 months, and in 2 days, I got more energy from another guy than I have gotten from you in the past 2 weeks. And I don't know how I'm supposed to be with you, so I guess it just is what it is. He's gonna say, I never said to be with me. I'm just talking about I won't invest in a woman who's talking to another man. I'm like, okay, I get that. I honestly thought it was over anyways. If you can't tell, I've tried to drop the conversation many times. And he's like, no, we don't operate differently. We operate the same. If your options are open, then my options are open. If your options are closed, then my options are closed. And now, before I even get a chance to respond to that message, he sends another message that says, let's drop this. Anyways, it's toxic hour. First of all, bitch, what? And I'm just like, I'm fine if your options are open, because I've never dated 2 men at the same time that lasted for more than a couple weeks, because dating phases people out naturally. But okay, sure, we can drop it. We actually ended up talking on the phone with that same type of conversation again. And we kind of smooth things over. Because honestly, I'm the type of woman where I could care less if your options are open. we're in the early stages. Like, we haven't set no exclusivity, no commitments to each other. It definitely didn't even feel like dating with intentions. I was making a choice, and when he told me to make a choice, I didn't choose him. But I guess that's not what he expected, so we smoothed things over. Lord knows why. He's texting me during the day, but it'll still be kind of sexual. Like, he will just try to bring like some fake romance into it. We talk about meeting in person, and this was all the next day, mind you. And we kind of make a plan of, sure, like, we can meet up in a few weeks. We'll meet up halfway. I'll drive 3 hours. He can drive like 3 hours. We'll get a hotel in the middle. We'll spend the weekend together exploring the city. And I'm like, okay, cool, because 3 weeks is enough time for me to actually evaluate if this would be a good decision. Like, no rooms were bought or anything. He's really into astrology. He wanted me to do like this online quiz about my natal chart. He sent me like this YouTube video that he felt was similar to how I love. It was fairly accurate outside of the parts that said, I'm terrified of being alone, I stay too long, and I fall into emotion quickly, because I don't fit those 3 at all. So he also sent me a video about his natal chart. That night I went to a stream and it was a tarot card reading. So I was kind of new to tarot card reading at this time. Told like the situation of like, I have 2 guys, like someone who's suddenly like putting this pressure on me. I've met someone new over the past few days. And it was interesting because the cards gave a warning, and it was saying that someone's energy was off. And that someone was Malik, and to be careful about him. Is coming up quick and it's sudden, but something's not right about it. So maybe an hour after this reading, Malik calls me. We end up doing like a video call. When we were on the call, I got an alert on my phone. He heard the vibration and he like freaks out. So it's late at night, per usual. He's like, is someone calling you? Mind you, literally just yesterday we had the conversation about keeping our options open. He's still losing it. I'm like, no one is calling me. And no one was calling me. And he's like, oh, you think it's funny? You think it's funny? We'll see how funny it is when I slam your head into this desk. So we're on a video call. And when he said this, I'm stuck. I actually have not had a man threaten me before. And I do this awkward, uneasy laugh. I don't even remember exactly what I said after. And he continued with that intensity. Like, I'll drive all the way down there. It just really took me a moment to get past my shock. He kind of realized how he was acting, and he switched up and he was like, oh, but I mean, I would love on you too, and da 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 da. I know I said something to the effect of like, you would do all of this for something bad, but you wouldn't do all of this for something good. It was clear that he was really stuck and hurt from his past relationship. He would get upset with me previously because I would be like nice and caring. And he would ask me something, and when I would respond saying that I had Google answers and I'm looking them up, and I'm like, we're literally on the phone, or we would literally be on a video call. But it's like he was so jaded from his past. It's like his filter was broken. He couldn't believe in good. He wanted me to pay for the sins of his ex, but I can't resolve something I didn't do. It's like I wanted to give it a chance. I feel like even more so because the person that I saw on the stream was not the person that I felt like I was getting outside of the stream. And it took me some time to realize, you ain't gonna get that person that you saw on the stream. This is the person. And already, it's not like we were talking every day. It's not like we were having meaningful conversations. So when he threatened me, it was like, nah, this ain't all right. And shortly after that, we got off the phone because his friend called. He clicked over and he was like, well, wait, don't hang up. Do not hang up. You better not hang up. I waited all of like 30 seconds and hung up, which honestly, I don't even know why I waited that long. And I just sent him a text like, I'll talk to you later, even though I really didn't intend on talking to him later at all. I just didn't want to make him like mad again. And then like 20 minutes after that, he texted me like, okay, call me on Saturday. And that was weird because it was Wednesday night. So after that weird conversation with Malik, I called the other guy because he worked third shift and he was usually up late. And I just kind of told him what happened. And he was just very protective over me. And he was just very sweet and comforting and what I needed in that moment after that unexpected conversation. So Saturday came and went. I never called Malik, and luckily he did not call me. Another week came and went. And the following Saturday at like 3 a.m, here comes Malik texting me. One word. He says, yo. Now, like I said, I'm a night owl, so I was actually awake. Then he video called me twice, but I didn't answer. I deleted WhatsApp, so he was actually texting me on my line and calling me on my phone, but I never responded. And then a couple days later, he blocked me on the streaming app. And then I noticed a couple weeks after that, he unblocked me. And when I noticed that he unblocked me, I quickly blocked him on everything. It's so crazy to me because, for one, the tarot reading was right. He definitely did not have good energy. Same night that I had that reading. And for two, you really don't know people. Clearly, he has some trauma and some healing to do. But the way he spoke about God, how he was so intelligent, how he was so logical, couldn't use that same intelligence, logic, or sense of reflection towards himself and his own behavior. I just didn't expect that. I'm not here for endangering yourself to save other people. And I was lucky that I didn't live in the same area and that I never met him in person. It's like he was so focused on the fear of a similar negative outcome, he couldn't see anything positive. And the little signs were there. I just didn't expect the signs would ever add up to that. I'm going to end in a quote that I saw online by this therapist. The desire for dominance over another creates the temporary feeling of power and control, which acts as a defense against deep-rooted shame. Thanks for listening.